Hi guys, so the recipe that we're going to do now is summer squash and basil pasta. So for this we need summer squash. So summer squash can be this yellow squash or it can be zucchini, whichever one you prefer. I'm going to do it with the yellow squash for right now. You also need a lemon. I would suggest a fresh lemon for some fresh lemon juice, some garlic, some pasta, so you want kind of these bigger noodles, or if you like spaghetti, you can do a spaghetti, you can do a fettuccine, a ziti, whatever you want. And then we're gonna have some basil. I know this basil plant is looking a little sad right now, but that's okay because we're gonna cook with it. So let's get started. We are going to start with our garlic. So our garlic we want to slice thin. And so you can see that these cloves of garlic, we want about 8. They have the skin on them. So an easy way to get the skin off is you're going to lay the garlic down, and then you're going to take a large knife and place it on top, and then take your hand and push down until you kind of hear a crack. And that's going to allow it to come off easier. And then you want to chop off the end, and just like that, the peel comes off. So now with what is left, we want to slice this thin. So if you don't want to use the big chef's knife, then I would recommend grabbing a smaller knife here where you might have more control. Remember to claw your hand as you hold onto that garlic and just slice it thinly. And this, as it cooks, it'll break down. So if you can't get it super, super thin, that's okay. So we're going to first start by prepping all of our ingredients, and then we're going to take them over to the stove where we can start cooking. So this way we don't have to run back and forth. I would definitely recommend prepping all your vegetables first, and then it's just one trip over to the stove top. So if you want to use the big chef knife, just hold the blade, wrap your other fingers around the handle, and go slowly. So you definitely want to move the knife so that it will slice into the garlic. So now that we're done with our garlic, I'm going to put it aside into a bowl, and we're going to move on to our yellow squash. So remember, with any produce that you buy from the grocery store, it's really important that you wash it before we start to cook with it. That way, if there's any bacteria on it, just from you picking it up and putting it in your shopping bin, getting it checked out, we make sure that we wash any of that off so it's super safe. So for this, we're going to take our large chef knife, and you want to cut off the ends. And then since this isn't a flat surface and it's round, it can roll around, so we're going to want to make a flat surface. So I'm going to start by cutting it in half long ways. So start by putting your knife and pushing through, and then turning it and reversing it. And so putting your knife in that slit that you already made, pushing through, and now we have a flat surface. So we're going to set this one aside. We're going to put this one down, and now you can see it doesn't move around. So we're going to cut that again lengthwise. And remember, gripping the blade, wrapping your fingers around, and now we're going to slice it long ways. So claw those fingers to make sure that you are being safe. And you don't want to make the pieces too thick, but you also don't want to make them too thin, because we're going to be cooking this for a fairly long time, and we really want there to be enough of the vegetable there that as it breaks down, it doesn't just dissolve into nothing. Okay, so now that we've chopped up all of our summer squash, our garlic, we're over here, we're ready to cook. So I've put a pot of water on to boil because we're going to be cooking our pasta, and I'm starting this at the same time as I'm going to start cooking our vegetables so that that has enough time to heat up, and then the pasta will have enough time to cook before we add it all into this. So in this saute pan, we're going to start by turning on the stove to about medium-high. And we're going to put some olive oil in here. So you can eyeball it or you can measure about a tablespoon if you feel more comfortable doing that. And to this olive oil, we're going to start with our garlic. So we're going to add this in, and as it heats up, it will start to sizzle. So we're going to let that cook for a few minutes. And once it starts to get fragrant and we can really smell the garlic and see that it's starting to kind of brown up a little bit, then we'll add in the summer squash. So what we're looking for is as soon as we add in the summer squash, we're going to turn the heat down a little bit. What we're trying to achieve with the summer squash is to cook it down enough that it becomes a little bit kind of jammy, is the texture that we're looking for. So it'll be kind of sticky. It won't really hold its shape super well. The rind on it the skin will still be seen, but the inside's going to become a little bit stickier, and then when we add our pasta into that and mix it around, it'll really stick to it and give it a really great flavor. One thing I want to point out about cooking your pasta: when you put your pasta water onto boil, let it come to a boil, and then before adding in your pasta, add like a lot of salt to this water. It doesn't have to be like a cup of salt, but definitely add a few pinches of salt to the water. It's going to help to cook the pasta a little bit better, and it's going to give it some really great flavor. So our water for pasta is finally boiling, and you definitely want to wait until it comes to a rolling boil and you can see it constantly boiling, not just a few bubbles on top. So we're going to take and put some pinches of salt in here, and don't be shy, be generous with it. It will add a lot of flavor and really help the pasta to cook. While we're doing that, we're going to take a little bit of salt and we're going to add it to our summer squash over here. Just a few pinches, spread it about. And now to our water, we are going to add our pasta. So if you have a 12-ounce bag, you can go ahead and add all of that. The bag I have is 16 ounces, so I'm not quite going to add all of it because it might be too much pasta. And now I want to give that a stir just to make sure that nothing is sticking to the bottom. We're going to leave that on high, and then we want to cook it until it is al dente. That means that it's still going to be, it's not going to be super soft, it's going to be a little kind of crunchy when you bite into it, a little bit tough, because then we're going to finish cooking it actually in with the summer squash. So I'm going to set a timer for 8 minutes. And while that is cooking, come on over and start to stir your summer squash some more. Want to get all those pieces that were on the top onto the bottom so they can start to cook. You can see that some of these pieces are starting to get a little soft, and as we cook them more, they'll break down a little bit more and start to become a little bit jammy. GoPro, stop recording. GoPro, stop recording. So our pasta is now cooked, but our squash still has a ways to go cooking. So we are going to use a colander and strain the pasta, and then we're going to actually just hit it with some cold water so it stops cooking so that it's still al dente enough for when we add it into here. However, before we do that, our recipe does call for 1/4 cup of the water that the pasta has been cooking in. So we are going to put it into a glass container, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball it right now, but I'm going to use a ladle to pull some of that water out and pour it into our glass measuring cup. And I'm actually going to pull a little bit more than 1/2 cup just so that I have enough. So the recipe calls for some kind of a red pepper. We have these red peppers that we have ground up ourselves, so I'm just going to add a little bit. If you like it spicier, go ahead and you can add some more red pepper flakes, or you can add less, or you don't even have to add any at all if you don't want to. Okay, so our squash is cooked up. We've got our pasta here, so we are going to just take and put this into the pan with the squash. Now what we're going to add is we are going to add some Parmesan cheese, and then we're going to add a little bit of the pasta water, and we're going to kind of alternate between these two until everything starts to really stick together and form a nice sauce. So we're going to use about 1/2 cup of grated Parmesan. If you want to go lighter, you can. Mixing it with the pasta water in the pan will really help it to create kind of more of this Alfredo-y type of sauce. So we're just going to first start by sprinkling some of this over the pasta, just like so. And then we're going to take some of our cooking liquid. We're going to pour that in. Don't add all of it yet. We want to go a little bit at a time. Now we're going to stir. You can see that the Parmesan has started to melt and create a sauce. So lastly, we are going to take our basil leaves. So we got about 1/2 cup of the basil leaves. And just, you can take some kitchen scissors and you can just snip them, cut them up. Not too small, so they're still big leaves, but enough so that we can mix it all in. And now we're going to stir that up. And now we're going to juice our lemon. So if you juiced your lemon but prior to this, just go ahead and pour that liquid in here. I'm going to use this this press. So you take the lemon cut side down if you have one of these, and then you just squeeze these together. Like that. And take the, and we're going to stir that all together. Go ahead and have a taste to see if you need to add maybe some more lemon. I think that is good the way it is. So if you want to, you can serve this into bowls. You can top it with some more grated Parmesan. You can add some more lemon juice if you want, any other kind of spices that you would like, but I think it's perfect just the way it is. So enjoy!